Sorry, buddy. I couldn't hear you. Welcome
Perfect
back.
timing.
It's all good. It's all good. Welcome back, Button Club members, to an episode of the Safe Sets podcast. I am one of your hosts, Shadow Fury, and with me, as always, my favorite guy, Mr.
Ricky Icebeam. How's it
Hell
going,
yeah.
man?
It's going good, my friend. It's going good. It's been a day, but we're here. Happy to be here doing this with you.
Yeah, we missed out on Button Club this past Monday.
Yeah, Craig, that's so funny. Craig messaged us and said, hey, I'm sick, so I'm not going to be there today, but you guys just have at it. Just go for it. And we just weren't comfortable with, like, running his store for him while he wasn't there, so...
Yeah, because that would be my next question. Is like, what does that even mean? Does that mean you're like ringing people out and like giving receipts?
Exactly. Writing IOUs for the next week for what everyone ate and drank all week, and I appreciate the trust, but...
Yeah, it's too much responsibility. And the other thing, too, I was thinking about is like, what if we're all focused on fighting games and like someone walks in and just grabs something and walks out? Like,
I'm going to miss out on... There's times Zach, a good friend of mine, Zach, comes by. I barely can talk to him sometimes. I'm running around, I'm doing this, or I'm trying to get warmed up too. So, yeah, the night can get away from you pretty easily. So,
yeah, you need someone watching the front of the store.
yeah. So we thought it was best. Plus the weather we just gotten all that snow. So if there's any good reason for us to take the week off, I think that was. But it was great because Jared and I got to hang out all day as friends, and not just like work the day and stuff. So we got to play games and watch movies and chill and talk. So that was great.
That's awesome.
What'd you end up doing with your Monday?
My wife and I found a video game that we can play together, which
Nice.
is always like a discussion topic for us. Like, we're always trying to find something to play together because we just like different genres of games.
Same. Yep.
And there's not that many good co-op games, and some of the ones that are decent are like online only co-op, so you have to like buy it on two different consoles and then play online, like rather than the couch co-op.
Mm-hmm.
So we found this game. It's on Steam. It was on sale for like $7. It's couch co-op. It's called Played Up, and it's really similar to. Have you played Overcooked?
That sounds familiar.
It's like a co-op kitchen cooking game, and in Overcooked, it's like very chaotic and like you're constantly running into each other and like getting in each other's way.
Okay.
But it's kind of fun, and so this game is similar to that, but instead of the game dictating like how your kitchen is set up and like what you're gonna do, you get to like define all the rules. You get to pick like what courses you're gonna cook. You get to set up the kitchen the way you like it. You get to set up the dining room the way you like it.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, and it's co-op, and so what we ended up doing was like I tend to run the kitchen and she runs the front of house, and so we played it. I'm trying to think. I think we got it this weekend. We played it like all day Saturday, all day Sunday, and then Monday the tournament was canceled. We played for like 4 hours Monday night.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, we've been totally addicted to it. So
Alicia and I have... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
If anyone's looking for a good couch co-op game, I highly recommend Played Up.
Oh, Played Up. Okay, and I want to check out Overcooked now that you mention it because I haven't played that.
Yeah, Overcooked is good. In my opinion, Played Up is better. And I think Overcooked is only worth it if you get it on sale.
Okay.
Because I think it's normally like $20 or something.
There was a game that we played together that was co-op. It Takes Two?
We played that one, yep.
That was cute.
Yeah, my wife and I, we played that.
And kind of dark.
It was cute and kind of dark, but all in all, it was like mostly watching and not that much playing.
Yeah. So
like it was cool. It was fine, but like once we played it through it once, like never touch it again.
Yeah, I've been a bum lately with games. I've just been watching movies and chilling out and stuff. I haven't really been wanting to do anything. It's that time has crept up for me in the winter right now,
Yeah, when it gets dark early, it feels later than it is.
And the holidays are a great distraction, and I think that's why the January February time is just so because it's just such a drop off, dopamine drop off,
Right, and then you're back to work, and at least for me, like I don't have any work holidays until like April, and so it's just like this long grind from January till April.
That's true, yeah. We were discussing taking a weekend off so that we could go to the CT GamerCon.
Oh, cool.
Because they run they're running Street Fighter 6 this year, but they're doing everything Street Fighter 6 on Saturday.
Interesting.
And that kind of sucks because then, for between Alicia and I, she plays Tekken, and Tekken is solely on Sunday, rather than like Saturday being like a big day and getting to the some sort of finals, then Sunday wrapping everything up. I thought it was odd that Street Fighter was just like all day Saturday wrapped up good.
Yeah, maybe they thought that Street Fighter players and Tekken players don't cross-pollinate very much, and so the thought is like the Street Fighter players get their Saturday, play all day, and leave, and then the Tekken players get their Sunday, play all day, and leave, so you don't have to, like, stay the whole weekend.
Okay.
And
yeah.
if you do play both, then you're like you're the unfortunate minority that needs to stay for both days in order to enjoy both games.
Or is it good that you get to focus on one per day, right? You don't have to go back and forth between Tekken setup and Street Fighter and whatever, so...
That's true, yeah. I can see a lot of pros to that, even though it is interesting, and I haven't really seen that before. I can see there's pros to that way of setting it up.
And that's a good point, because I'm looking at it from my point of view and not just like the TO point of view, which I should I should be splitting that view, right? The husband competitor TO.
Yeah, it might also work out for the commentators as well. Like if you just have let's say a pair of really good commentators, you want to use the same commentators for the Street Fighter stream and the Tekken stream. Well, on Saturday they're just commentating Street Fighter, and then on Sunday they're just commentating Tekken.
Yeah. Have you ever been to the CT GamerCon?
I've not.
No. Well, we were talking about.
I tend to when I'm gonna like travel, even if it's within driving distance, like travel to go to like a fighting game tournament. It's typically like a real, not to say that it isn't real.
I know what you're saying.
A focused fighting game tournament that's like CPT related in some way, like a Defend the North or a Summer Jam. I typically don't do like the Anime Boston or anything like that.
Anime Boston. So I haven't done an Anime Boston before. And then I want to say last year when Street Fighter and Tekken were so new for the year, they had it at was it PAX East? They had Tekken 8 on the big monitors there.
That sounds cool.
So
yeah, for me, I like to take time off, because typically I'll like take time off to travel and like stay in the hotel or whatever. And so for me, it's like it needs to be worth the trip. And so last year we went to Defend the North. It was like totally worth it.
Yeah.
I want to do that again this year if we can.
Yeah, I was gonna just ask you: is Defend the North on your on your radar, or just another tournament for this year to plan out?
Yeah, just another tournament, and Defend the North is just a good one.
I'm thinking and it's funny enough, I have my Defend the North shirt on today.
Nice.
I was thinking about if I had the choice between Defend the North and ECT, because those are both really close to home. ECT slightly closer. I was thinking about checking out ECT because when we went to Defend the North, it was not a CPT event, and I think that's another reason why the numbers were low. But ECT was a CPT event, and like so many people from our local scene and beyond were there. So I might want to check that out. And I haven't even heard any news about Defend the North, past what happened last year and stuff. So
yeah, the thing I like best about the Defend the North is the timing of it and how close it is to like a Street Fighter game coming out slash like a new season slash a new balance patch. It's like 3 months after a new season typically.
That's
so
true.
That sweet spot of like you get to see all the changes, you get like 1 or 2 new characters, you're getting more comfortable with that season, and then Defend the North hits. It's like perfect timing.
That's true. That's true.
If I remember correctly, because I have like no memories of before COVID, I think I went to ECT in 2016, and I don't think I've been since.
Really?
And that was the time I think they paid Daigo to come out.
Yes, I've heard about this. Yeah.
So that was interesting.
He got like a free trip to be up there, basically, and all comped for him.
Yeah, I think they like paid for his flight, paid for his hotel and everything to get him there, and like he was like signing autographs because he had his book come out recently.
Oh yeah.
And he ended up not winning the tournament, which was like so awesome.
He just should have been partied all weekend.
Win, but it was awesome to see like this legend from Japan come down, and like it being 2016, a lot of the players were relatively new to Street Fighter, So like so excited to see him, and then to like see him play on stream, and then like to have him lose. It was like so exciting for the person who ended, the players who beat him.
Of course. Yeah, especially 2016, the game's so hot and brand new. So to be like, oh, like to set the precedent, right, for how this game might go. Oh, Daigo's already losing. He's not doing good. And he's washed in 5. That's it. They made this game for Americans.
It's funny. This was so long ago. He was playing Ryu.
Mm-hmm. Yes, but this is before the Guile switch. I brought that up recently on Twitter. I was like, what's going on? No one's talking about Street Fighter V anymore?
I still like Street Fighter V, but I think switching back and forth from 5 to 6 will be really jarring.
No kidding.
I feel like I'm gonna try to be like drive rushing in Street Fighter V, or like trying to parry in Street Fighter.
Yeah. That muscle memory is something else. I couldn't go back. I'm glad everyone else was going and having fun, and I'll have my time where I revisit, but it is not right now.
Yeah, I think eventually, I'm sure, like how we run like Street Fighter 4 brackets at Button Club. I'm sure a Street Fighter 5 bracket will come up at some point.
You know,
everybody gets to see my Colleen.
Oh, dude, that's right. We had the last week before 6 came out, we had a going away tournament for Street Fighter 5 because no one was really playing it, but we wanted to have a send off with it, And I remember that week being like, I'm so glad to see this game go and get it out of here. But we're here for Street Fighter 6. And if you were thinking about a dopamine drop, we got some news today, right? Some things that you had sent over into the chat. I wasn't sure what we were going to talk about today, and then bam, we got some stuff.
Yeah. So let's pull that stuff up.
So the first thing I have here, can you see this at all?
I cannot.
I have the because it's I don't have it up in the.
I think you have to share your screen. I can see it now.
You can see it now?
Yep.
Okay, great. Remind me, because I'm going to end up changing that and stuff. All right, so why don't you tell them what we have here? This is a graphic that you sent over from today.
Yeah, so I believe that this was just before they reset the points when Mai came out. And so this is after a long period since a reset. And so it's actually pretty accurate to what people are doing and how far they're ranking in Street Fighter 6. And what I found really interesting is, at least the way I look at the ranks when I look at this, I see Master and Diamond as the best 2 ranks, right?
Yeah.
Obviously they're the best 2, but I mean they're almost one and the same. It's a group of players that are exceptional at Street Fighter. They take it seriously. They practice. I'm sure a lot of them know frame data and have friends to practice with. Maybe they go to locals. Not to say that players in the lower ranks aren't doing those things, but they're just playing it to they're less competent in that, and that's reflected by the rank that they receive and how far they're able to go, assuming that they grind rank at all. And so it's nice to see the Master and Diamond ranked as essentially the top 25% when you add those 2 columns together.
That's true.
If you hadn't shown me this graphic and you just asked me, where do I think the numbers lie, I would have guessed I don't know, 25% was rookie.
Really?
Well, just not knowing, right? Without seeing this graphic.
Yeah.
But maybe that's the way it was in Street Fighter V because everybody started at rookie and a lot of people didn't play ranked.
Mm-hmm.
But in this case, in order to get rookie, I assume you have to lose 9 or 10 of your placement matches.
And you probably would also have to tell the game, hey, I'm new to this. Because there's that question, too. What's your experience online or on these games? And if you already hit, I'm a beginner, I'm very new to this, then the game already has to start looking at that. Where if you're no, I've played these games before, then you can say, okay, then, we're looking at, let's start in the silver gold and then see where they go from there,
Yeah, I don't know what the implications are, but it'd be interesting to find out, if you choose the highest skill option and then lose 10 out of your 10 matches, will it actually place you all the way down in rookie, or will it cap you and only bring you down to bronze at the lowest or something? But I haven't known anybody for that to happen. I think a lot of players especially if they've played Street Fighter 4 or Street Fighter 5, have a general understanding of where they belong.
Mm-hmm. What
But
do you
it is
think
nice
about
to see.
platinum being so the most saturated rank there?
Yeah, so I think that platinum being so saturated has a lot to do with the placement system. And I think that a lot of players are being placed once they do their placement matches below platinum. And I don't think they feel satisfied when they go from rookie to iron or from iron to bronze, bronze to silver, or even silver to gold. I think it's when you get from gold to platinum, I feel like that's like you've reached the plateau. Like you've worked so hard, you've put in a lot of time, you've fought some players who are pretty good at the game to get to where you are. And I think once they go from gold to platinum, they're like, I did it. I mean, I think it's similar from diamond to master, and that's why you see diamond as such a small group. I think that once someone goes from platinum to diamond, they're like, no, 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 I'm not stopping until I hit master.
Mm. Or
And
oh my god, like I worked this hard to get through platinum and diamonds ahead of me. Like oh I can't right now. Like I need a bit.
exactly. Um, and so, in a way, I think that the majority of diamond players are actually hard stuck in diamond due to flaws in their gameplay, whether it's they're bad at reacting to DI, or they parry too much, or they can't anti-air very well. Um, I'm assuming that maybe like 8% of that 11% are players who are actually turning the game on and playing, but are unable to win enough of their matches to earn the points they need to get to master. Because that's the other thing too is everything up until master is based on LP, not MR.
Yeah. And there's even still new people getting into the game to this day. The new characters, there's people that came aboard with Terry that we have to consider into these numbers. There's people that might have maybe jumped back in because of my. And you also think within our community, Hazard. Hazard has done so well in Tekken. And now he's like,
Yep.
you know what? I'm kind of looking at Street Fighter and seeing what these guys are doing and appreciating it. So he has now grinded into the gold ranks, and he had that journey like we had mentioned earlier. So
Right. And it'd be interesting to ask him. I bet you he's not satisfied in gold rank. I bet you he'll feel much more comfortable once he hits platinum rank.
yeah, well, we've been talking back and forth, and I've been trying to give him whatever help and advice I can. And one night, we played. He was like, "Oh, like I'm terrible. I'm such a bum." I'm like, "No, you're not a bum. There's so much that you just do not know." And that it'd be so different if you knew and you were doing the wrong thing and not listening, but you just have no idea. And then later on, after bumping him up a little, he's like, I'm getting platinum tonight. I'm getting platinum tonight. So I'm going back on ranked. So yeah, it is interesting to hear about that.
Yeah, it's interesting too that like when you're learning to play a fighting game well, the way that he had learned to play Tekken well, there's a lot of things you have to learn along the way to get to where he has gotten in that game. And I
Mm-hmm.
think a lot of what he learned in Tekken can carry over, but it's completely overshadowed, like you said, by the lack of understanding or the lack of knowledge that's specific to that game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know if the game even tells you you should DI a DI.
Oh, and
You know what
how
I mean? Like,
far that meta has come since the beginning of the game, right?
right, or same thing, like someone who's brand new to Street Fighter but has played fighting games might go into training mode and practice perfect pairing stuff, and then they might find themselves being really adept at perfect parrying the opponent's DI, which is a okay option, but it's not the best option.
Hmm.
And so they might not know that. They might not realize that DIing their DI is actually the best option, and perfect parrying their DI, even though it's much harder to execute, is a much a much worse option. And so if they don't understand how those things work, they don't understand that parry has all kinds of scaling to it. They might be, putting their efforts in the wrong direction. They're in training mode for 3 hours a day, just practicing how to perfect parry a DI when that's
Mm.
not important at all.
That's true because it looks cool or whatever, right? I
Well,
would say in his case, it's more so like it's the subtle things that we have like I think taken for granted because it was already discussed from the beta. How to raw drive rush in 4 frames.
oh yeah, yep.
The game doesn't teach you that. So
I actually,
go
yeah.
ahead.
Speaking of raw drive rushing fast like that, I actually think that's a design flaw.
Yeah.
I don't think I don't think the player should be able to execute it better to get an advantage over another player.
Yeah,
I think that um,
I'll
trying to
agree to
think of
that.
how to say this. Like,
Hmm.
you know how like you could do a normal and like while it's recovering you could be like mashing dash, that way your dash comes out like frame one after the recovery.
Yeah.
um, I think that um, holding parry into drive rush should work similarly, where there's a wide enough window that it doesn't matter if you dash quickly or a few frames slower, that the window is wide enough that it still comes out on the same frame.
Mm.
So, and I'm just going to make up numbers here, but imagine if when you tap parry and then you go to drive rush, that there's a 10 frame window. And it doesn't matter if you dash on frame 1 or frame 9 or 10, your dash doesn't come out until frame 10. And I think that would be a much more uniform way to handle that. And it would let you see that they turn green for a few frames, and
Yeah.
it would also slow down just like the how fast you can go from deciding to drive rush to I've already drive rushed and jabbed you.
Yeah. Dude, that has actually blown my mind with how that could balance that so much better, right?
Right, because the other thing too is like I'm sure there are players in Master who don't understand how to do the really fast drive rush, and so they're drive rushing like 4 or 5 frames slower than their opponents, not realizing that there's a really intricate method in order to execute this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's something that where like because it if it's getting stuffed and they don't know that little secret, they're like, well, how come I can't use it, but they're able to use it so good, and they're not even thinking about something like that. And that was something that even took Jared like a little bit to kind of figure out and get into also the difference in that drive rush, let alone piecing together the drive rush combos and how all that works. Because I feel like if you want to understand that the best way without just copying someone's combos, you have to understand the frame advantage and what goes there. And oh, when I punish counter with heavy button after drive rush, this is the best thing I can do. And how you build your combos yourself, that's also something that is, I don't know, it's not being really taught.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, the game doesn't teach you. I mean, the frame data is in the game, but the game
Yes.
doesn't explain it to you or teach it to you in a way that is usable.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, the way I think about the game and play the game, like I put everything through the lens of frame data. Like there's times I'm in a tournament and like I'll win a match on stream or I'll lose a match on stream, and I'll think about an interaction and I'll pull out the frame data app on my phone and I'll look at some stuff. And I think I was talking to DeJorn about this 2 weeks ago, where I was saying, when I block um, drive reversal with guile, I don't have a great combo to do. I've been doing crouch medium punch, flash kick, and then I
Mm-hmm.
went into the frame data app and realized I could do crouch light punch into sweep, and then the sweep gives me excellent Oki, and like I didn't even have to touch the game to figure that out.
Ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that's sick. And then
So
sweep will give you a safe jump and everything, 45 frames. So
yeah, so it was one of those things where without touching the game, I learned something, understood it, and then I don't think I ended up doing it that day, but if the situation had come up like in my next tournament match, I would have had the opportunity to do it knowing that it's going to work even though I didn't test it.
hmm, interesting. There you go.
And I also find in general knowing frame data makes it very quick to pick up new characters.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because I don't need to learn all their combo routes. I just need to understand how plus a few of their buttons are and a few of their startup frames.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, like Akuma's crouch medium punch being +6 on hit means it combos into itself without counter hit, without drive rush, without anything, when most characters can't do that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And again, I could just look at a frame data app for 30 seconds and understand that that's a combo without touching Akuma at all.
Yeah, and I mean, there's people that don't even know about that. They don't have the frame data app or whatever. They're not living like that. It's so crazy.
Yeah, I just find it super useful. It's like a shortcut.
You need that. I was watching someone on YouTube recently. It was how to counterplay against Mai. Okay, and I had never seen this person before, and I don't know anything about them. It just came up because of the Mai, talk, and right away they are spewing frame data, and I'm like, oh, okay, so I know this person now knows what they're talking about, because it wasn't like, if you see this, you might have time to do this, or no, they were like, okay, this is fake, I'm seeing pros lose to this has this window gap, this is here, so this is how you beat it instantly. So, if you want to achieve that level into fighting games and you're not talking frame data, you're missing out.
Yeah, And the last thing I wanted to say about the slide before we go on to the next one
Mm.
is that it's interesting how the numbers kind of add up, where Master, Diamond, and Platinum added together is like 45%,
Wow.
and then Rookie is about 5%. So I hate to say this, but if you disregard Rookie for a second,
Yeah.
then the combination of Master, Diamond, and Platinum, which is about 45%, is like your top 50% of players, and then your Iron through Gold is like your bottom 50% of players.
Huh.
Because each one of those groups adds up to about 45%. So you just, like I said, ignore Rookie for a second and say, okay, Iron through Gold is your bottom half of your skill level, and Platinum through Master is your top half, and they're split right down the middle.
Mm. No, that is interesting when you put it like that. I didn't really notice that. And then now, because of the way the master system works, we've now dissected that whole rank system into a couple of the little subdivisions there. So I think that that's really cool. That can kind of it's still all under the master umbrella. It'll still be 13.78%, but it is so cool that that they have that addition there now.
Yeah, and we kind of all know this. Is like once you get to Master, that's kind of where the game really starts. And that's
Yeah.
how it's like if I were to compare it to like a Pokemon game, it's like after you've beaten the Elite Four, like once you've gotten all 8 badges, you beat the Elite Four, and then the end game starts. Like that's what kind of Master rank is for a competitive Street Fighter. It's
Mm.
like once you've beaten the Elite Four in Pokemon, now it's time to start training your Pokemon for competitive battles against other real people.
Hmm. See, so I missed out on so much by not getting into Pokemon.
It's crazy. It's not too late, Ryan. I can
It's not. All right, next slide, my friend. Now that we're done with that one, so you can see this.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So this is the MR player distribution, obviously only within Master Rank because MR only applies to that. So what do you see here, my friend?
Yeah, what I find really, really interesting about this graph, like it's pretty apparent that there's two really tall columns right in the middle, and then there's a gap, and the smaller column in the center of those two is 1500 on the dot.
Mm-hmm.
Like not plus or minus anything. That's plus or minus zero.
Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
so and so that's it's kind of hard to see because it's kind of small, but that's about 12%. That means 12% of players hit master and never played ranked again.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way I read that, because I'm sure a small percentage of those people played and went up a few points, went down a few points, and landed at 1500. But for it to be exactly 1500 on the dot and not like plus or minus 10 or 20 points, that just
Yeah.
tells me they never played it again.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I would have to agree to that.
And then unsurprisingly, to go above like 2000 MR is like basically nobody. It's so hard to do. There's basically a handful of players who are doing that. Um, and I guess what's also interesting to me, because I think it makes sense that the majority of players who make it to master are between 1400 and 1600.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you get there at 1500, I think most people play and lose points. They get down to like 1450 or so, and they basically cut their losses. They say, I'm not going to play ranked anymore because I'm losing points and I can't afford it. I can't afford to lose points.
Not in this economy, buddy. There's eggs to buy.
Exactly. So what's actually interesting to me about this graph is how many players continued to play rank even though they were losing points to the point where they were like under 1400 or even under 1300 points.
Yeah.
Like if you were to ask me, I would have guessed that like the fourth column that says 1200 to 1299,
Yep.
that would be like 1%.
Wow.
Like I would have guessed it's way less players than it is. Like
But
maybe
to
1 or
sit
2%.
at 6, and then you got to look at the amount of players in the 13 to 1399, almost the 12%, almost matching the 1500. I also find that number to be pretty high.
Yeah, I almost wonder if the 13 up to 1500 is kind of like one group of players, and
Yeah.
like which column they landed, it just depended on like did they end the night at 1389 or did they end the night at 1407.
Yeah. That's true. That's true.
But I would kind of see those two columns as one group of players who are deserve to be in master rank but are struggling to win consistently. I'm sure they're doing a lot of like losing 2-1, and so they lost some points, but they're not losing 0-2 match after match after match. But yeah, the 1300 to 1500, if you add those two columns together, it's about 34%. So about a third of master rank players are struggling to maintain their 1500.
So how much does this graph change over time? Obviously, it changes nothing with what I'm about to say, but over time, let's say that they were like, "Hey, we're lowering the master rank MR. I don't know, whatever that would be called, to 1400."
Oh, the
Okay.
starting point?
Yeah, because we noticed that 1500 becomes difficult to maintain. 14 to 1500 is the most populated, and maybe that better represents where that player base should be after they have gone into master rank. Because if the 1500 is where they want you to be, and that's sitting at a 12% there, and people are like, well, I've dipped and I'm out, or I've increased a little bit and I'm out. I think that maybe if they had dropped it to the 1400, what does that do to this graph? How does that change everything and players' enthusiasm?
So I'm not one of those players that gets to master and then starts losing points down to 1400. So I don't know this for sure. But my gut is telling me that if Capcom made an announcement that master starts at 1400, that the players who are in that group that start at 1500 and then work their way down to 13 to 1400 would take that as they're taking away 100 of my points right off the bat. You know what I mean?
Huh.
Because if you're a player who can get to like 17, 1800 or more points, then starting at 1400 is not going to hurt you at
No.
all. It's just going to make you play it for a few extra hours.
Yeah, yeah.
But for the players who are hard stuck between 1300 and 1500, it's punishing them. It's taking away 100 of their points, 100 points that they kind of needed as a buffer. Because even though they work their way down to like 1300, they'd be down to 1200 without that 100 points.
But this is like through a phase. So for phase 7, when everything kind of resets back to 1400, let's say now, like everyone, that's everyone's new baseline, 1400. I technically didn't lose anything because I've already lost, because everyone's losing their progress that they've gained. So now I'm being told that 1400 is the new minimum, or the new baseline there, and I don't know. How does
I think the number's arbitrary, because my question would be is what happens if they just double all the numbers? So you start at 3000.
Well, okay, but I guess what I'm saying is, hello, welcome to Master Rank, okay? Here you go. And now you plummet to 1400 because it looks like that's where a lot of people are. If we're saying that 1500 on the nose is almost 12% of, let's call it maybe even 10% of dead accounts, right? If
Yep.
starting at that 1400 now,
I don't think that's going to motivate the dead accounts to play ranked. I think they got to master rank. They feel like they beat the game, and they're also afraid to fight some of these other master rank players
Yeah.
for better. And for two reasons, right? One of the reasons is the other master rank players might be better than them, and they want to hold on to that ego. The other reason might be that they don't want to run to someone who's playing like an absolute animal and essentially steals their points undeservedly.
which is the rules of the road on ranked match, as we know. And we saw some people talk about ranked match earlier today in the Button Club server. I don't know if you got to see that at all.
No, I didn't see it, but if they said something not nice about ranked, I probably agree.
Yeah, it was Moon saying that they had a bad night, and then people were talking about like, yeah, I find that I play best between this time and this time, or ranked is just a cesspool. It was all sorts of back and forth on it. So always the interesting topic.
Yeah, I think the hard thing, and this can definitely be improved upon, but ranked is not indicative of a tournament. I think that if they were to put rules in where like no points are rewarded until the first of two is over, and that like if someone leaves early, it counts as them losing. The same thing, like if you win game one and they win game two and then they leave, it would be the equivalent of you beating them 2-0 because they left. I think if they were to enforce the first of two, and then this would probably not be a good idea, but theoretically, if you're only allowed to play a certain number of matches per day or per week or per whatever, then it would make it so that you have to play as if your tournament life is on the line.
Oh, I understand. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Like, okay, you've lost 2 games. You're timed out for 15 minutes. You lost 2 sets. Come back in 15.
Like that. Because I think that's the big difference between playing in ranked and playing in tournament is if you're playing ranked and you have a strategy that is not very smart, it's very robotic, and you're kind of doing your plan A over and over again, and that plan A wins 65 to 70% of your matches, you just have to do that for 100 hours and you hit like 1900 MR. But if you're winning 60 or 70% of your matches and you go to an offline tournament, assuming that there's other master rank players there, you're going to go like 2-2 or maybe 3-2, but you're not going to win that tournament.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah, so I think if they were to do something to make ranked more like a tournament, and this is actually a thought. There's a fighting game called Fantasy Strike.
Yes, we've talked about this before. I know you love this game.
Yeah, and the way that their ranked system works is when you log into ranked, it puts you with, I think it's 3 other players, so there's 4 players in total, and you play a single elimination bracket, and how far you make it in that bracket until you're eliminated, that's when the points are distributed.
Oh, wow. That's interesting.
And so I think if Street Fighter 6 were to do something like that with maybe 8 players, like an 8-player double elimination bracket, like you enter, like when you sign into ranked, you enter it, and let's say it takes an hour or whatever it takes. But you have to play with that group of players, and then depending on the MR of the players that you beat and the players that you lost to and how far you got, it does the math and tells you how many points you deserve.
Yeah.
And winning one of those 8-player tournaments is worth much more than going like 2-2.
Yeah. Oh, that is interesting. And then that also presses
like a ranked tournament mode.
Yeah, and then that presses tournaments more for people and that mindset rather than the endless hours. Because that's the thing about ranked too. At first it might sound ridiculous to say like to limit your rank time, but you can just be on there all day for way too long and plummet.
Not only that, but you could play relatively bad and win more matches than you lost, and your points go up. I think of it kind of like poker. Like imagine if you're playing like an online poker game, but the money's not real. And so instead of sitting at a table for an hour and a half playing strategically and trying to beat the other players at poker, you can just go all in round 1, and then if you lose, go to another table because it's not real money.
Yeah.
And that's how ranked feels sometimes. It's like if a ranked tournament mode took you an hour to an hour and a half to play through, then you wouldn't play so recklessly, because if you lose right in the beginning, your points go way down. Like if you go 0-2 in that tournament, your points go way down. So you want to try as hard as you can, and you want to play methodically and safely so you can make it as far as you can. And so if you're an hour into it, you're not going to all of a sudden start playing like a maniac because you've lost the time that you've invested.
Yeah.
But with ranked, you're only investing like 5 minutes at a time. So again, it's kind of like that poker thing of like, if I lose to this guy playing like an idiot, I'm going to beat the next guy playing like an idiot. So there's no reason to stop doing this.
We got Phil D in the chat. I increased Ricky's volume. Let me know if that is better in comparison. Thanks so much for hanging out and watching and helping us out with that.
Yeah, thanks for letting us know that I was too quiet.
Yeah, I was trying to match you before to mine, and I also didn't want you to come through on my end over here. But yeah, thanks so much. We need that help. All right, and then is there anything else you want to say about this slide before we call it a wrap?
The only last thing I wanted to say, and I kind of said it in the beginning, that to get over 2,000, it's like almost nobody's there. And I don't think it's necessarily like useful. Like I think the way the ranked works right now, like if you're one of the top players in the world, like if you're NuckleDu or Punk or Daigo or Tokido, nobody's gonna ask them what their MR is and have any kind of weight to that, right? Like if NuckleDu's playing on a Diamond 3 account, they don't think that they're gonna beat him because he's on a Diamond 3 account.
Yeah.
And so I think once you can get to like 1800 MR, then I feel like you're good enough where it's like, okay, the MR kind of doesn't matter anymore.
And that's why you see players like Mena RD is unranked. Angry Bird unranked. He's not playing ranked. He doesn't need to. He's got his pool of players that he needs to in order to train to work towards those Capcom events and all that. And yeah, I think there's a point where you don't need to put your skill up against that, especially when you're at the top echelon like that, right? Unless you're doing like content, right?
Yeah, if you're doing content or if you're actually so good that it's not an issue. Like if you're Punk and like you said, he makes content, he brings every one of his characters to master rank or 2000 MR or whatever he does. But for him, it's different. Like if I was able to log into a ranked mode where the strongest player was like the skill level of a platinum, I'm imagining that's what ranked feels like for him. That he's so much better that it's not really assessing his skill or pushing him to any kind of limit.
Mm-hmm.
It's just he's going through the motions and taking wins.
Because he could easily take, and I'm pretty sure he has taken most of the cast, if not all, to not just master rank, but to legend status.
Yeah.
And quickly. It's amazing to watch him do that.
Yeah, I think it's just a difference in skill level. And like I said, if the skill level I'm currently at was able to log into a ranked system that maxed out at like platinum skill level, where the only time I'm going to lose is to someone playing really, really aggressively and getting a little bit lucky, then it would be no big deal for me to take all of my characters to the top of that ranked mode.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel like that's what it's probably like for him.
Especially like we see it all the time, and we've told my brother, and like the once you learn a character, the next character and everyone after that just becomes so much easier. I at one point would have not done what I've done in Street Fighter 6, and play 3-4 characters at a diamond to master rank level.
Let's be honest, master rank is
well, thank you.
You're master rank with you can touch any character, they're instantly master rank.
Well,
whether you've logged into ranked mode or not, that's the way I see it.
Well, thank you.
But I agree with what you were saying, but I also want to say I think the second character you learn in a fighting game is the most difficult. And I say that because I think, like for example, with your brother Kevin, like he's learning how to play Street Fighter 6. At the same time, he's learning how to play Ryu.
Yeah.
And so once he gets to like master rank with Ryu, or once he finally did get to master rank with Ryu, I feel like his skill level in the game and his skill level with Ryu in particular are kind of even.
Yes.
And so for him to grab any other character on that particular day, his skill level is going to be like cut in half.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so I think the second character is the toughest. And so let's say he grabs a second character that's not similar to Ryu. Like if he learns how to play Ken or Akuma, that kind of doesn't count.
Yeah.
But let's say he decides to play like Cammy, and he struggles and he plays and he puts in the work, and after like a month or two he hits master rank with Cammy. I feel like at that point the third character, fourth character, fifth character is nothing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's an interesting point, and I 100% agree with it, and would never have thought of it like that. The second character is the most difficult. Street Fighter is hard, man, says Hazard. Every time I read anything that he types, I hear his voice in my head, so I have to say it like that. Yeah, it's a hard game. I mean, Tekken's hard too, but they're both hard in their different ways. I was saying this to Alicia. I find it that I don't think that Tekken is easier to get into than Street Fighter, because both games are very difficult and very difficult on their own. I think Tekken, most people, if they don't have a whole lot of fighting game experience, can do really well in Tekken, because I think Tekken follows like more real life rules than Street Fighter does. Being able to evade and crouch things completely. The frame difference is so crazy. You're talking about 20 frames compared to 5-frame normals and stuff in Street Fighter. Those things become harder to accept. And playing in that 2D plane, even Alicia was like the exaggerated jumps. I never realized how awkward the jumping was in Street Fighter for me, and in Guilty Gear with air dashing even, where like Tekken, I'm grounded. I'm not thinking about really jumping unless it's like this hop kick move that has it built into the animation. So I think Tekken just, more people can get into it. Some of my friends that don't want to play Street Fighter at all, they've touched Tekken, but the 2D they don't want.
Yeah, I wonder if it's the swing ability of the game. And what I mean by that is like, do you have long range normals that just reach, right?
Mm.
Can you essentially use your normals as movement?
Yeah, that's
And I
true.
think there are characters in Street Fighter that have that and can do that, especially if you lump in special moves with that. Like Urien was a prime example in Street Fighter 5.
Mm.
Urien between jumping, dashing, and doing special moves never had to walk.
Ah, okay. That's
And
true.
so
Huh.
and so I think and I don't know this because I don't really play Tekken. I've played before, but I'm not really a Tekken player.
Mm.
But it seems like at a low level, you could not have good movement in Tekken and just kind of use your normals to move you while you're attacking.
I see. That's
Where in
interesting.
Street Fighter, you could do it, but like for example, at a low level, if you're using Cammy and you're using Spiral Arrow to make your way across the screen, that move's super punishable.
Yeah. Compared to like an advancing normal like the spin kick, the Sobot kick, or bazooka knee from Guile, a normal that's going to move him dramatically forward and count as a hit.
Yep.
Hazard, we were talking about you earlier. We were talking about the ranked system, and we were mentioning the how saturated some of the levels are and where you have started your journey because you were new to Street Fighter, your journey through gold and into platinum. So if you have anything to say about that to add to that topic, you can type it into the chat.
Yeah, and, for Hazard and for anyone else who is actually playing Street Fighter 6 ranked and is less than platinum and would like to go up, there's only one thing you need to do, and you need to do it really, really well, and that's
I
anti-air.
was going to say anti.
If you can anti-air very consistently, like 95% of the time,
That's strong.
then you can make it to diamond and above without doing combos, without knowing anything.
That's
You
strong.
could literally do nothing but anti-air and make it to diamond.
Mm-hmm. And that was something I had mentioned too. So there you go. That's not a thing you're thinking about in Tekken. Here's another thing you're not thinking about in Tekken. Okay, you have the electric wind god fist, right? Which mimics a DP motion, so that feels relatable. But there's no charge motion characters of any sort in Tekken. Am I correct in saying that? So when Hazard is coming into Street Fighter now from Tekken, that is a foreign thing, and that is a wall for most players, even if they've played other 2D games. Oh, charge characters? No, I don't do charge characters. It doesn't make sense to me. My brother right now, if I tried to get him to play Guile, because I have, no, the charge, I don't understand it. That's a whole different world to come from when these juggle combos rather than these little more like frame perfect links and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, the other thing I wonder about the difference between a Tekken player getting into Street Fighter is in Tekken, if your opponent is doing like a really slow, long range move that reaches really far, I believe unless it's tracking, you can mostly sidestep it and then get a huge punish.
Yeah.
And I think in Street Fighter you don't have a sidestep. Like you can parry, but it's not like in Smash you can do like an evade.
Yeah.
And it's not the same thing.
No.
Like, I feel like the evade in Smash is more similar to the sidestep in Tekken, where you punish them huge for swinging too big. And in Street Fighter, for the most part, if someone swings big like that, it's it might be punishable, but it's not like unless you're blocking their wake up ODDP, you're not getting a huge punish like that.
So hold on, I have a thing here from Hazard. I want to read it. It says, "We're gonna get out of these gold mines. As I climb, I can feel myself just getting used to the movement and the neutral of the game. In Tekken, you kind of brute force some stuff, but that's not really a thing in Street Fighter."
Yeah, and that's a good point. Like, if you try to brute force it in Street Fighter, if your opponent is any good at all, they're going to recognize it and they're going to counter it.
And I would say brute force is a good way of how people have described Hazard's gameplay also, or mentality like playing the game. Brute force, I'm going to give you some space, but I'm going to be right on top of you.
Yeah, and brute forcing within a round is fine, but what I wouldn't suggest to a newer player to Street Fighter is don't brute force your way through ranked.
Yeah.
Like if you're in ranked and like in Hazard's situation, he's in gold trying to work his way to platinum, and I'm sure he'd like to go higher than that. If you whether you realize it or not, there's stuff that you don't understand that's happening every single round. And it's causing you to lose.
Mm.
And so rather than brute forcing it and just going back into ranked and kind of failing over and over, I would say reach out and ask for help because stronger players who have been where you are and have gotten through that can very quickly identify what it is that you're lacking. And it could be something as simple as if I watch one of his rounds and let's say he does a good job anti-airing. Good is not good enough. If you
Mm.
anti-air someone 4 out of 5 times, they beat you that round because you have to anti-air them 5 out of 5 times or else you lose. And so someone might try to analyze their own gameplay and say, "See, I'm good at anti-airing. I anti-aired 4 to 5 times. That's not the problem.
Mm.
It is the problem."
Anti-airing is proving to be the hardest part for me, he says. So
Yep.
there you
It's
go.
it's 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 very hard, and that's the idea, right? Like people often will feel stupid when they fail to anti-air, but it's like anti-airing is hard. It's both things. Like jumping in is so strong, and anti-airing is so hard that they kind of balance each other out. Where it's
Mm.
like, let me do the stupid easy option in jumping in that gives me a huge reward, and the only way for them to stop it is to do this perfectly timed, higher execution defensive option to shut it down. And
Mm-hmm.
so, as the defender, you have to put it on yourself to be like, in order for me to stop my opponent from doing the easy option, the easy offensive option, I have to do the difficult defensive option to
Yes.
counter it.
Yep. And that's not. And it's. I told him that. That anti-airing is always an issue. Always
It's
for me.
always.
It's never
I
anything
mean,
that I feel like I've conquered.
watch Evo Grand Finals. Punk won because he jumped in.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It was like a random jump in. It looked kind of scrubby at the time, but for whatever reason, Big Bird didn't react. I don't know if he was looking for something else or if he was getting exhausted from playing so much Street Fighter, if he was nervous because he's on the Evo Grand Final stage, but it was last round and he was winning. And Punk, with his back against the wall, just jumped and hit it, and
Yep.
GG's. So
Yeah.
yeah,
So
anti-airing is the most important, and it's always an issue at every skill level.
there you go. So yep, gold 3 or 4 Hazard and Evo second place 2024. They have something in common, and it's all with the anti-airs. I've noticed a huge success rate jump in my anti-air in switching to Bison and focusing on just the crouch heavy punch, to the point so much that it put it into my brain when I switch back to the other characters that I am able to play. If I go, I'm not DP in that, that's late. I have more of the mind to crouch heavy punch with Guile, with Ken, and because that part of my brain is filled up now, it's allowed me to think of the other ways that I can anti-air. So rather than me going, I have 5 ways to anti-air, right? 2 of them are on lock. So I really have to really pay attention for these 3 situational spaced anti-airs and stuff like that. I like that. That has helped me work with that.
Yeah, what I found in playing Guile is that it's ironically more difficult to anti-air with Guile because he has to charge his flash kick.
Yeah.
And so I find myself, like you said, like trying to pick the right normal for the right situation, whether it's stand medium kick or crouch heavy punch or jump back jab, or maybe I do have time to wait a few more frames and charge this flash kick.
Mm-hmm.
And so the other day I switched back to Luke for a couple of games, and I found it so relieving to be like, oh, I can just DP every single time.
Whenever I want. No charge.
Whenever I want. I can
Yep.
walk forward, I can walk back, I can still DP.
How real briefly, because I do want to say one more thing about what Hazard has to say. How talk to me about the Luke and how that felt. Otherwise, like, was it just to
Yeah,
kind of
so
break it up with the Guile, or
yeah, it was to break things up with the Guile and also just to make sure my Luke is still strong and that I'm
yeah?
not like forgetting his combo routes or losing the timing for his perfect knuckles.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't run into any of those issues. If anything, it helped me appreciate Luke a little bit more in that when I'm playing with Guile, a lot of times I'll knock someone down and I'll choose not to drive rush in because Guile's offense is not as good.
Mm-hmm.
Him not burning out is really important,
Yeah.
and so I'll knock someone down and then I'll like throw a sonic boom. I'll just kind of chill, go back to neutral. And I found like when I'm playing Luke now, I'll be in a situation where in my head I'm like, oh, right here I can drive rush into stand medium punch and it frame traps him, or I could choose to not spend that meter and just go back to neutral. So I actually found great success with Luke playing more like Guile, where I can be patient, I can play neutral, And then when I get a stray hit, then I can push him all the way to the corner with one combo, and make him panic in the corner because now Luke has a real throw loop.
Yeah, the difference is crazy.
Yes, I think playing Guile makes me better at Street Fighter 6, if that makes sense. And so by switching back to Luke, it's like taking the what is it in Dragon Ball where he has like the T-shirt that weighs like 100 pounds?
Yeah. The weighted stuff, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that's how it feels when I switch back to Luke. It's like I'm faster. I can anti-air without charging. Anything I do, every combo leads him to all the way to the corner. I have a throw loop. And then when I go back to Guile, it's like things are a little bit slower, things are a little bit more methodical. And my damage output with Guile is relatively low unless I spend level 3.
Which I think is it hurts him a little bit. I want a little more damage. Guile have a little bit more. Because you know what? They took away the punish counter. Was it heavy punch? We used to do like heavy punch into heavy punch, and then that scaled a lot, so they wanted you to switch up between the kicks, and that kind of like changed some of his combo routes a little bit.
Yeah, but the other thing with Guile too is like, because he's so frustrating and good at zoning, that I think if he was getting good damage while he was doing that, I think he'd just be way too overpowered. Where now it feels like when you're not spending any meter and you're just zoning, you're doing well. And then the only other way to do well is to spend it all. It's like an all or nothing with his meter. And I think that is kind of a good design choice. Because like if his level 1 dealt like more damage, I feel like everybody would just end every combo with level 1.
Yeah.
And then he'd be much stronger than he is now. I think it makes sense that his level 1 is really only meant to go for a setup. His level 2 is not like Rashid or Blanca's level 2. He's not using it most of the time.
Yeah, it's true.
It's only like if your opponent is burnt out and in the corner and have a throw's worth of health left, you might as well just pop your level 2. It's like a checkmate. But I feel like for the most part, it's like you're using level 1 for setup and you're saving up for level 3 to close out a game.
Kind of like how we've discussed Ryu, right? I think, was it you and I that were talking about Ryu a little bit?
Yeah, it's very similar to Ryu, where you almost never use his level 2. His level 1 is decent for like closing out rounds.
Yeah.
Like if you need it, like if Ryu's low on health and you're doing a combo that will only kill with level 1, spend it. It's worth it. But for the most part, Ryu's saving up for that level 3 because if you can win a round without spending super or without spending more than a level 1, if you can save up for your level 3, basically any straight hit does 50% with Ryu.
Honestly, no, you're wrong. It does that. It does almost 60.
60, yeah.
You have to have a bad Ryu combo to not hit like 55 or some shit like that.
But what I meant was like you can do like jab into dry rush and do 50%.
Yeah, okay, yeah. He is crazy.
Right, like let's say you're playing Bison and you do a poorly spaced scissor kick, and you just crouch light punch, crouch medium punch, dry rush into what, like stand medium punch, crouch medium punch, DP level 3. That's 50%. But again, I think because Ryu, similar to Guile, should for the most part be zoning and trying to play safe. I think he needs to have a lot of damage output with his level 3. I do think it's a little bit much right now, but
it's a bit much.
I can't.
It is a bit.
But it's hard to argue that he shouldn't have that because they would need to give him something else. Like if they made it so that you could only combo uppercut into level 3 or donkey kick into level 3, but you couldn't do donkey kick into uppercut into level 3 in the corner, then I feel like that nerfs his damage output enough that they have to buff him somewhere else.
Oh, but he would just do a completely different route in the corner, and it would still do dumb percent. And it's like it's something I've obviously practiced, but I almost did it to Hazard the other day. It's a Tatsu juggle combo with Hashugeki. Air Tatsu level 3, like it is a thick boy of a combo, and it is so much fun compared to doing like Guile's big payoff combo. It has way more opportunity to drop and stuff.
Yeah, especially if you're doing like the perfect boom loops in the corner.
Yeah.
But one thing I have found is like if I go back to training mode and test it out with Guile, like the difference in damage if I'm cashing out into level 3 between Guile's easy combo and Guile's hard combo, in a tournament setting, it's like rarely worth it to do the hard combo.
I agree, because there's been times where I'm like, I would try to go for it. I have like a baby boom combo that I can do sometimes in the corner, right? And it is probably less than 200 points of damage greater.
Right.
For what? You know, and I've dropped the easier combo when I'm trying to do or the medium one. You do blade flash kick into level 3 rather than like, you know what, just button drive rush target combo or heavy kick level 3. See you later.
Yeah, exactly. There's times where I'm like ending a combo and I'm doing like the stand medium punch to back heavy punch into the light blade into heavy flash kick level 3, and I'm like, I should have just done stand medium punch back heavy punch level 3.
Yep.
And if for whatever reason that doesn't kill, I'll probably still win.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like they're still in the corner. They still have like a jab's worth of health left.
It's just like you've been playing Guile, so you haven't really been doing a whole lot. So now you finally get to do something. You're like, all right, let's go. That's it. Like, then you mess it up.
Yeah,
it sucks.
Let me show my opponent how good I am with this sick-ass combo that I'm going to draw.
Yeah. Aren't I sick? Oh, I lost corner. All right, so Hazard says it's very similar to whiff punishing in Tekken. I feel just realizing that they leave the ground and reacting is hard. Yeah, because you're just kind of like, oh, now what? And you think like, well, I've blocked it. That's okay, right? But blocking is actually not the okay answer there.
Yeah, if someone jumps at you and you block, obviously that's better than getting hit by the jump.
Yeah.
But it's still really bad.
Now they're in your face. You gotta guess.
And I would even say, like, if someone jumps at you and you perfect parry it, I would say that's still pretty bad because you took a huge risk for a relatively small reward. So that's getting like deep into the weeds. Like, you don't have to worry about whether or not perfect parrying someone's safe jump was worth it until you get to like master rank.
Yeah, 100%. I think where Hazard is at right now is actually in a really, really good spot, and he has moved very, very quickly already because everyone learns differently. But if we're comparing my time in Street Fighter V to his time in Street Fighter 6, okay, despite what's different, he's already matched rank-wise where I basically capped in Street Fighter V. And he's come in at the same time, right? He's come in at Season 2, 2.5. I came in at Season 2. I maxed out at, like, Super Gold. That was it. And he's already Gold 3. And, he's got the community and people that will show him and stuff. So he's already on a great, great road, so.
I always forget that you didn't make it further in Street Fighter V ranked. Like, if someone were to ask me, like, oh, how far did Ryan make it in ranked in Street Fighter V? Like, I don't know, like Diamond? That would have been my guess.
Oh, my God. No, I never... The first time I ever got ranked Diamond was in DNF Duel.
Nice.
But, yeah, so, hold on. He's saying, oh, Gold 4. Put some respect on the name. Gold 4. Shout outs. All right.
Very nice.
My boy. We have one more slide that you sent over, and this next slide is the culmination of what we've been waiting for an entire year. Are you ready? Oh, hold on. Get to the top of it.
Yes, Capcom Cup 11 is happening in 3 weeks.
Good Lord. So, you had mentioned... hold on, let me just scroll down here. Tickets. What were you saying that's being picked tomorrow? The
pools.
The pools are being picked tomorrow, and there's no... They don't even
so if you
talk about that here, I feel like.
So it doesn't talk about it there, but on day 5, 6, and 7, it talks about group stage elimination. And so tomorrow they're picking which players are in which groups.
I see.
So then starting after tomorrow, we can start, figuring out speculating which players are going to make it out of the group stages and which players we think are going to win. But also it gives the players themselves an opportunity to practice against the players and the characters and the matchups that they are going to see in their group elimination stages. Like if I was in Capcom Cup and I got put in Kaba's pool, I need to know the Guile matchup.
Schedule. Let me see. Okay, it just brings me there. Okay. So there's really not a whole lot to this over here. But
I forget where I saw it, but tomorrow's the day that they pick the groups, and that'll be really interesting. So we can talk about that next week. I'm thinking next week on the podcast we can probably talk about who's in which groups, and then maybe the week after that we can give our guesses on who's going to make it out.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm down for that. Absolutely. Because what has also been difficult about just lately is there's nothing going on, and so for this to drop today was actually perfect because it's just gives me something to put in my calendar, something to look forward to, and build up some hype and anticipation because other than what we could speculate for this year, all we can talk about is what happened last year being the first $1 million year, right, for the Capcom Cup with Street Fighter 6 beginning. This is a time when we hated seeing Luke and JP. They beat us to death with the
JP.
They beat us to death with the JP song the entire time. We were desperate. I think there was a patch that came out right before this that really ignited all of us again. I think that was the beginning of the Ryu kind of buff into craziness.
Yeah, in addition to this event, which is obviously amazing, and I'm excited to watch it, I'm also excited that once this tournament is over, there's no excuse for Capcom not to release a balance patch.
It has to have been brewing for the longest time. There's been a lot brewing within the community as what we've been talking about for everything. And it's not even just gameplay as to what we're asking for, but, we want the costumes, the skins, and how everyone's got a fistful of cash ready to give Capcom for just a little bit more. I'm excited for that, and I'm also kind of wondering if and when do we see a rebranding of Street Fighter 6 come Season 3? Is that also like the next big thing that we're building up for? Is it a Super Street Fighter 6? Is it an arcade edition, whatever?
Yeah, I would hope so. And like I said, I'm mostly excited for a balance patch because I think that the game is fantastic, but certain aspects of the game are so prevalent that it's starting to make the game feel stale.
Yeah.
And I actually wanted to kind of talk about that and talk about Mai kind of at the same time.
I'm with it. Go ahead.
So Mai's been out for a week.
Yes.
I haven't personally played her this week. I played her the day she came out for like an hour or two just to see what she was about.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really seem like my kind of character.
No.
And so I'm not going to spend any more time on her. But from playing against her online and from what I've seen, with Twitter clips and, people giving their own opinions online, I think the things that make Mai good in Street Fighter 6 are not the things that make her unique.
Okay.
And so the things that she's good at is like crouch medium kick drive rush, throw loop,
fireball drive rush.
Fireball drive rush. What else was I going to do? Anti-air DP.
Yep.
The fact that her crouch medium kick is 7-frame startup. Right? Like, it's the things that she's good at are Street Fighter 6 generic things. And the things that make her unique, which is like her level 1 to get the flame stocks, it feels completely irrelevant because button into drive rush is so good.
It doesn't feel as cool as it was looking before we got it in our hands. Would you agree?
Yeah, I agree, and because I think that the things that make her good are just Street Fighter 6 generic things and other characters can do it, that means there are other characters that do it better. And one character in my mind that is like screaming in my head when I think about this is Ken. Ken is doing everything she's doing but better. And I think that's part of the issue. Like, if you have a character that has a fireball and an uppercut and crouch medium kick drive rush, guess what? You have a Shoto, and Ken's the best Shoto right now.
The lovely 7-frame blessing, says DiGiorno.
I can't.
I forget who was asking me this week. Someone was like, "Oh, so because I wanted to also put a little bit more time into my, not to be like I'm gonna become a my main, just to have something else to learn, to want to play the game." And I kind of thought my brother and I would learn her together. Once he had heard the day that she came out, he had heard that she was difficult to use. I know my brother, and I know he was turned off from that moment. Pace. I thought he was in the chat. Like, make that shit 10 frames, please, Capcom. Once he had said that, I knew that he was already kind of half-headed out of it, right?
Yep.
And then he played a little bit on his own. We never really got together to play her at all, and he was kind of like, yeah, it's not doing it for me. And I gave him like, no, like, come on, try, push a little further. And then we both messaged each other like 2 days later, and he's like, it's not for me. And I said, yeah, it's not for me either. I find her quite boring, and I this was clever. I said she is similar to her Fatal Fury counterpart. You might say that she's cut from the same terry cloth, because she feels very vanilla, very boring, and after playing the both of them in the same day, I ended up having more fun with
Terry.
With Terry, I was like, why would I want to play this character? I don't know. And then I had to think to myself, is that really only because, like, the character's good, but she's not amazing.
Yeah,
so what is it? Do I and does the community need an Akuma and an M. Bison every time a character comes out? Or is that old hat? Is that DLC like superiority? Or is she just kind of blah? I kind of was like, what's the perspective basically?
Yeah, and from my point of view, I just wish that the things that were unique to her were stronger than the things that are the same as everybody else.
Like the fan setups?
Yeah, or even just like her, like, I think her level 1 doesn't work as intended. Because I think her level 1, when she doesn't already have the flame stocks, is like so hard to combo into that you're taking a huge nerf on your combo route just to get it out.
Yep.
And then the reward you get for doing it isn't worth it.
It's not amazing.
It's not. I don't think it's worth cutting your combo short to combo into level 1 just to get the flame stocks.
Yeah. Which kind of like made us wonder where that was going to... I'm sorry, go ahead.
I was just saying, what if you need level 1 to end a round? You spent your bar, you did the level 1, you won the round, but you lose the flame stocks because the round's over.
Exactly. Which I thought was kind of odd. I thought maybe that was going to transfer.
Yeah, I think it would make more sense if it transferred. Or like maybe it only transfers if you kill with the level 1.
Yes, that would make sense. Yeah. It only... Yeah. That's fair.
Yeah, but... So the other thing I was thinking about is, you know how when she already has the flame stocks, her level 1 has a much greater range?
Yes.
I'm wondering if what if they just buff it so it always has that animation?
It always has that in it regardless. And then because you shouldn't spend the level 1 to get the next level 1 buff. You should spend the level 1 just to get the fire stocks and leave it at that.
Right. So that's why I'm thinking they should get rid of her level 1 animation when she doesn't have any fire stocks and just replace it with the powered up version. So basically her level 1 doesn't get powered up by the flame stocks. It's just powered up at all times.
Yeah. I think that's been a common complaint I've seen across the board from her, of people saying hard to combo into level 1 and stuff like that, and it wasn't really worth it.
Right, because she doesn't need to combo into level 1. Like she doesn't need the flame stocks. So it's like, why shoot yourself in the foot to get a tiny buff? It's not worth it. And so that's the other thing too, is like if they were to make the animation of the level 1 the same animation as if you're powered up, so it's much easier to combo into, then my question would be like, well, what if the flame stocks was infinite? Like you spend the level 1, it's infinite flame stocks for the rest of that round, so it's almost like the Kali popping V trigger.
For the rest of that round or the rest of the game, like the first of the rounds?
I would say for the rest of that round.
Because Nikali's V trigger, did it used to be for the rest of it?
So he had 2 V triggers. One of them was for the rest of the round, and then I think his V trigger 2 ends mid round.
I see. Okay.
But I think even till the end of the game, his V trigger 1 just lasts till the round ends.
In the beginning of the game, no, that wouldn't make sense. No, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, it always lasted as long as possible.
Okay.
I think there was rumors that like they couldn't find a clean way for the animation to end, and so they just let it last forever. But for whatever reason, it was fine because he was never like S tier.
Yeah.
So it was fine that it lasted forever. But it was that, and also because you don't get V trigger until like halfway through the round, anyways.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if she was able to more easily combo into a level 1, and if it was just like infinite flame for the rest of that round, then I think she would not only be much stronger, but I think that would be more prevalent than her crouch move kick into a drive rush and her throw loops and all the other stuff that she's good at that other characters are already better at.
Mm-hmm.
And so she kind of reminds me of Lucia from Street Fighter V.
Yes.
Where the character's good. There's nothing wrong with the character. The only thing that's wrong with the character is that other characters are doing her job better.
Yep. And then this is a highly anticipated character, very sought after, being the second guest character to go with the theme of the first set of guest characters to go with Street Fighter, matches the SNK universe and cross Capcom. Like, this is a big deal. So I don't know if this is good or not. If it is kind of like, do you remember the Marvel vs. Capcom Infinite debacle? And Marvel was like, well, you can't have Capcom characters looking better than ours. Can't have Capcom's characters looking stronger than ours. Is this kind of like the same boat where this SNK character can't be too wild? Because if this is going to give it has to be just fan servicey enough. Hey, look at this character. We've done business with them before. There's a new game coming out, and we hope you enjoy. Rather than check out this character. Everyone, no one shut up about Terry since September. I can't hear enough about that character. I'm sick of that character. It hasn't been like that,
Yeah, and from my point of view, it's hard to know whether Capcom has a good feeling on exactly where a character is going to land on the tier list until after they've released him.
Yeah.
I think they knew Akuma was good and he's supposed to be good, but I have a feeling that Bison was better than they anticipated. And maybe Terry and Mai are about where they expected, where they're good but not like they're both A tier characters. They're not S tier. There's characters that do their jobs better.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to know whether it was intentional or not because I don't think they're that good at balancing a character that they can really know like what the pro players are going to find on week 1.
And you have to imagine too, like, the things that they become aware of looking out for, the more characters that they put out, now the next character has to go through that lens also. So, if Akuma gets released accidentally and Bison gets released accidentally too strong, then they have to go, well, we've now put these barriers in front of those things that we have to clear this before we go there. And that's why the characters have been coming out like this, because I think for the love and life of the game, shouldn't Mai be better than Ken right now?
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
I mean, I think from where Ken is now, he should come down. But I think if Mai released, last week like she did, and she was even stronger than Ken,
I'm sorry,
I think the community would be pissed because in a lot of people's eyes, Ken's already too strong. So to release a new character that's even stronger,
okay.
It's like now there's more characters that there's no reason to play.
Okay.
And it turns into Street Fighter V where there's really like 5 to 10 S tier characters and everybody else is irrelevant.
Okay.
But if they were to like release Mai and then nerf Ken so he was like down to where she is,
I guess that's kind of what I'm saying.
I think they would have been happier with that. But I don't think they should release a DLC character the way that like Luke came out in Street Fighter V, where he was way too strong.
Okay, yeah, no, but I do, and I agree with that. That was horrendous. What I think should happen though, and it should kind of be like, hey, like, don't you guys have been playing Ken since release? Yep. And we've made alterations to Ken, but Ken is like where he's at now. Ken, unless he got hit with the Nerf hammer, they would have to intentionally say no. They need Ken needs a few tweaks, if any, right now, and that's really it. Small things. So if they had addressed that and then hey guys, we know you've been playing this game for this long. We've got this character that now fills the shoes of what you were playing before because she's new. We want to push her. It's exciting. You're probably bored at this point. I don't know. How more no Ken slander. I'm just saying, how come that isn't the new thing, right? Like, hey, new DLC. We want everyone playing it. Is it a good look right now that people are like, yeah, I guess we'll wait till Elena, and then I guess that means we'll just wait till season 3.
Yeah, I think Mai is a kind of character, like, because she's from a different fighting game, that there's certain players who are going to play her no matter what, and there's certain players who are not going to touch her no matter what.
Yeah.
And so having her come out extra strong, I think, is not a good look. And like you were saying before, it's like for Akuma to be too strong, kind of makes sense. That's his brand, and he is a Street Fighter character. He's from this universe. He's DLC. He's pay to win.
And I would say M. Bison fits that too. He's a boss. He should be very difficult to, but and that's kind of where my point was too before. Like, where do we go? Does this character suck by comparison, or does this character just kind of on their own? And even bringing up your topic with Ken, I get that also proves that point.
Yeah, I just think there's too many characters right now that they rely on, like anti-air DP, crouch medium kick, drive rush, and throw loop. And so if you put all the characters that are doing that as their primary game plan into one group and say, okay, which 2 or 3 characters are the best at this, and then just don't play anybody else from that group, then Mai doesn't make it into that top 3 because Ken's really good at it, Luke's really good at it. There's other characters that are doing that very simple game plan with higher damage output and better Oki and less complicated combos.
And you no longer, like, you don't have to learn a new character right now. You can sit comfy in the character you've been playing this whole time. But I just don't know if that's good or bad or not for the community, right? Like,
yeah, I guess it's bad for players who are still wanting to play Street Fighter 6, but their character hasn't been released yet. And I think about Idom every time I think about that. I don't think Idom really likes playing Manon. I think she's just the closest thing to what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
And I was hoping that Mai would be the character that's like, finally. But unfortunately, I don't think it is.
Cool.
I think because she's just doing crouch medium kick drive rush all the time, I don't think that's what he's trying to do.
Yeah.
I don't think that's how he's trying to play the game and show his skill. And so in thinking about that, I've been thinking that there's maybe too many Shotos and not enough grapplers and not enough zoners.
Yeah, the zoner count is, and it's JP, top zoner, right? I would say.
Yeah.
Guile.
Yeah, JP, Guile.
Dalsum.
Debatable, but yeah, Dalsum, Ryu.
Okay, so I think Ryu's
Actually, I take it back. Akuma.
Yeah. Oh, that makes more sense.
Akuma's an excellent zoner.
That makes more sense. But, like, he's not tied to just doing that. I think that's the difference there. Where, like, those other characters, that's more of their MO. And, like, Ryu, at one point, they want people to play like that. But I think we all know, Moon, I know you know, Ryus don't play like that today. They don't play. The Ryus are not zoning today. They're not zoning.
Yeah, I think if you're a Ryu main and you want to zone, then you pick a character that's better than Ryu at zoning, such as Akuma, Guile.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if we had more zoners and I think if we had more grapplers, then I think the landscape or like the character select screen would be a much more interesting place.
That's true. Because
like you either play Zangief, Dalsum. And when you said Dalsum, I said debatable because Dalsum's kind of like a really weird zoner. Because he's kind of like hyper offense zoning.
Yeah. Well, he can be. I don't know. A lot of those Dalsum players I see, they're just floating. They're just teleporting away from me.
Yeah, but they're doing a lot of stuff.
They are doing a lot of things. It might not be fighting, but they're doing a lot of things.
Right. It's like Guile zoning by doing less, and Dalsum zoning by doing more.
Yeah. That's true.
But either way, like if you're not playing a zoner, and you're not like Geef's really the only grappler. So it's like if you're not playing a zoner and you're not playing Geef, then it's like which crouch medium kick drive rush character do you like? Which flavor do you like the best?
Yeah. Do you like Jury Shoto-esque, right? Like you want really complicated stuff?
Right, or do you want a broken character? Pick Rashid.
Rashid, man.
You know what I mean? Like, but there's so many characters that just like, if you have an anti-air DP and a crouch medium kick drive rush and a throw loop, those three things are so strong you don't really need anything else. So just pick your favorite flavor of that character, and that's like 90% of the character select screen.
So then does that also prove the changes that need to come for season 3? Because how much more of the same stuff can we get it character wise? If season 3 is not as exciting, if season 3 is not exciting because of where season 1 and 2 have gone, where do we go from here? Why do we keep playing this game? I think if these next characters are going to be successful, like you're saying, and have variation amongst the cast, we need to look at the, because most of those are ingrained into the. No, there's just that one. It's all crouching medium kick drive rush. That's the biggest thing that is attached to this game only, really, right?
That and the throw loops.
Throw loops.
Like obviously throw loops are in other games too, but I think that if they were to get rid of throw loops, and I think if crouch medium kick drive rush into jab on block wasn't a true block string, that would open the game up so much. Because I think the issue with crouch medium kick drive rush into jab on block is that you're being rewarded for not hit confirming.
Yes. Yeah.
Like imagine if every time you did crouch medium kick drive rush jab on block, you get blown up by an ODDP. It's like, okay, now not only did I spend the 3 bars, but I didn't get my plus frames.
Yeah, and I lost my damage. Like it's
right. You got punished for not having the skill to confirm your hit. Or yeah, exactly.
Hopefully, so many exciting things to come. And I hope it's all in season 3. And I would love to get a taste. I don't think we're going to see anything major at the end of this Capcom Cup. What did we see last year? They showed us a video. It was kind of like a hype trailer, if you will, of, hey, just so you know, next year we're going to do this again. We're going to have this, and that's really it. And there wasn't so much about like the season. Am I right in that?
Yeah. Do we have the release, or maybe not the release dates, but the release seasons for the other DLC characters? Is it just Elena?
It's just Elena next, and it was only given to us in a general season. Elena SF.
I feel like that would be like, besides a balance, I feel like the only things we'd be excited to see at the end of Capcom Cup is like a balance patch announcement, an Elena trailer and or release date, or maybe they show off like the next season, like the season 3 DLC characters.
It's so early. I don't think they can show us. If they show us anything season 3 related, I would imagine it's balance. They would sneak in a couple of things, have a trailer where we're like, ooh, is that different? Is that better Oki now? My little troll in the back there, you see that? But as far as like showing off all like DLC characters, I don't think there's any way you can do that right now. That's what happens when you're fucking around.
Yeah, I think that would be too good to be true.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think if they were to show off a balance patch, that would be amazing.
A couple of things.
I think having my release so close to Capcom Cup, I'm kind of glad that she's not overpowered, because that would like change. Like players are going to be cramming to get their Mai.
She shouldn't be legal, CPT legal, if that's the case. You know, like you have to say, look, like this character's released. You know, if you're running a weekly, you want to let her in. Yeah, of course that makes sense. We have been. This is a culmination of a year. These are points on the line. This is the biggest thing. And I think these pros. She would have to be dumb, powered, broken, and for people to be good enough to do anything with her at this stage in the game. I feel like. Personally.
Yeah, either that or someone would have had to discover a piece of tech that's actually like game breaking and hid it from the world until Capcom comes.
Yeah, and good luck with that, because it takes one Twitter clip. That's all it is, you know.
Yep, and then everybody knows it.
Mm-hmm. We got Philip D, who says they need to start showing off some costumes.
This is true. If they show off a bunch of costumes for Capcom Cup, That would actually make a lot of sense because there's going to be a lot of eyes watching Capcom Cup. That's an excellent time to advertise.
And they did make that post recently saying, "Hey, like we know that you've asked, they're coming." But didn't they say that they were going to start releasing them periodically in the summer this year? And I think I found that to be kind of like, wow, summer, that kind of sucks because all we have right now is the third costume for base roster game characters, not even the season 1 DLC. They only have 1 and 2 costumes right now, right?
Yeah, from them just making the announcement like a couple weeks ago and saying that they're going to start releasing in the summer makes it sound like the day they announced that was the day they assigned someone to start working on costumes.
Because it's like, what? Why? Why? And then we're like, and then we're gonna start. We're sorry this took longer than expected. We're gonna start rolling these out periodically. And I was like, well, why wasn't that happening the entire time? Why do you feel like you need to send out all these costumes at once, or a big group release them as they're finished, so people can start enjoying them? I think that's better than the drought. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree. And the other thing they could do that would be really nice is like when like season 3 DLC is announced, they put like season 2 DLC on sale and also release costumes for all the season 2 characters.
Yep, that would be nice.
Yeah, I don't know exactly what it takes to make costumes because I understand they have to design the costumes and then like essentially I'm assuming they have to like map out all the animations and make sure that the costume works.
Yeah, as
like,
intended.
But if there's a team of people, even if they took like 3 people and was like, okay, guys, work on costumes, I can't imagine it would take them more than a week per costume.
I don't even know. Well, would they say how long does it take to even create a character? Didn't they say?
Well, a character I think takes a lot longer and a lot more people.
Yeah, well, I would imagine so.
Exactly
Yeah. But I was trying to like figure that out to think of like, yeah, how long should a costume take if a character is this long? You know?
Yeah, I think regardless of how long a character takes, I think a costume on an existing character that's done should be like a week. And that's just my gut feel. Like, how could it take more than 40 hours or 40 hours times the 2 to 3 people that I'm imagining it takes to make a costume?
Well, that's a funny question because that kind of brings me into something that I hadn't even talked to you about yet. Give me 1 second. Let me see if I can show this to you.
Because there are modders who make costumes.
I know. I mean, there are modders
I don't know how much time they're putting into it, but like they might only put it like 100 hours into a costume and then it's done. It's like, we'll hire someone. Maybe Capcom should look up on YouTube some Street Fighter 6 character mods and then hire those people.
You know?
Or do like a costume contest and say, hey, modders, send us your best costume and first place gets $100,000.
Yeah, or something. Yeah, that'd be great. And then you want to talk about supporting the community and the artists that are in that, or making them Capcom creators or something. That'd be a big deal.
Yeah, it'd be really cool if there was like a way for players to submit their costumes to Capcom. They get reviewed and then they get released in the game for like $1. Right, so you can go to the costume store that's created by the players, and there's 1,000 costumes on there, but maybe there's only like 5 or 10 good costumes for your character. Well, guess what? You can get 10 costumes for $10. That sounds like a bargain to me.
Or like the voting that they did. Remember the voting for like certain art, like the loading screen that'll come up, and they're like, oh, pick your favorite this. Like you could have us vote for that right in the Battle Hub.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is instead of voting and only releasing one, like obviously check them and release the best ones, but like release 100 per character.
Yeah.
And let us decide with our wallets which ones we want to buy.
There you go. Yeah. Can you still see my screen at all?
Yeah.
So for those of you watching at home, Alex Nostalgics, this content creator, showed off his journey into fighting games and he's working on a lever. But this video he posted 3 days ago, Concept to Creation, The Birth of the Enclosure. It's a 20-minute video. I'll send you the link so you can watch it because it beautifully shows probably what I now imagine you are going through with working on your own hitbox and all of the things that it took him to get through. And I know there was times where you're like, yeah, next week, and we've been waiting, but I can only imagine all that goes into what you're working on after especially seeing all that he went into working on in this video.
Yeah, to be fair, I haven't been working on it very hard at all. I haven't touched it this year. I haven't touched it since like December or like November.
Look at this guy.
But I think if I was like actually focused and like, okay, let me see if I can release it in like the next 2 or 3 weeks. I think if I actually tried, I would get it all done. No problem. It's just been like, I get motivated to do it and I'll work on it for like 2 or 3 days and I run into like one roadblock and I put it down for like a month.
Yeah.
But part of it is because I at least for me, it's like, I don't know if once I'm done, anyone's even going to want one. It'd be different if I had like 10 orders, if like 10 people are giving me X number of dollars for a case, then that would light the fire under my butt to get those done.
See, so as the artist, okay, the flip side of that coin, I would be like, ooh, I'm making this for myself, and this is going to be so sick. So sick. And then it would be like accidentally that someone's like, hey, I would kind of take one of those now that I've seen yours and do that, rather than like the motivation being the money,
Yeah, I think if I was in great need for a case, like if my case was broken or
That's
something.
true, yeah.
And I was like, I can either, spend a couple days and 3D print my own or go online and buy one. I'd rather just 3D print my own. But because I'm having no big issues with my case. I have one tiny issue with my case, and that's the DI button that I've added doesn't fit in quite right, and so it sticks up above the top of my
other buttons.
Yeah, so it sticks up like maybe a 1/4 inch higher than everything else. Which will not be an issue once I finish mine, but again, I've just been lazy about it. But
Well,
I should get that done.
And check that video out because he goes like really big into his thought process, design, what he wanted, and he has a look, a feel, an aesthetic that he wants to accomplish, and he knows that going into it. And just the other problems that he runs into, things he wasn't expecting, and it's a really interesting video and a cool journey. So I'm sure it would resonate with you. And I have here in the chat, Superpower Review said you can put me down for one, so they would take one of your hitboxes.
Have I showed you anything about it?
No.
Give me 2 seconds.
I only know about magnets. I've heard magnets. That's it. But I haven't seen anything about it. I'm interested though. Oh, hell yeah. Guys, in the chat, if you're watching this is an exclusive. First time being able to see it. What's up, Cacaroni?
So it's been a minute since I've worked on this, so I'm trying to find all the pieces. But
yes.
So that's the buttons half.
That's the right hand side, yep.
Let's see. This.
Ah.
And so these two halves magnet together.
And then is there a way to reinforce that in case you don't? Yeah.
Yeah, so this prototype that I started with has really tiny magnets, and there's not enough of them. They're not strong enough, so it feels really flimsy. So I bought bigger magnets. I've updated the files so that they can take the bigger magnets, and I also added more magnet slots.
Oh, cool.
And then besides that, I think I was telling you about this the other day. So this is the top that has the buttons, but it's also the sidewall.
Yes.
It has one file.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna split it so that just the walls is one file, and then the top plate's a file and the bottom plate's a file.
Nice.
And then put all the magnets in and stick them all together.
Because is the point of it to be able to break it down for travel? Because once you're because what I'm thinking is now that you have those two pieces segmented, what really keeps it together now I guess is the sandwiching, right? The top and bottom plates.
Yeah, because there's going to be there's magnets in each piece. So
yeah.
On the bottom of your top plates there's magnets. on the top of your walls there's magnets, on the bottom of your walls there's magnets, and on the top of your bottom plates there's magnets. But there's no intention for you to disassemble it.
Okay.
The only time you disassemble it is if you're replacing pieces, and that's kind of the whole point. Is like if you wanted to add a button somewhere, you would just reprint the top plate.
Yeah.
And like disconnect your buttons, pull off the just pull the plastic top off by the magnets, pop the new one on, and you're good to go. And so if someone had bought a full case and they just wanted me to reprint their top flat panel and put the magnets in, that'd be cheap and quick to make for them.
I'm shaking my head and grimacing real quick because my brother just put the Portuguese man in me just says duct tape it, LOL.
Duct tape it, yeah. I mean, if I really wanted to, I could just put screws, but I think the magnets is a cool solution.
I think it's cool. It was nice to see. It could definitely be something.
Yeah, so maybe I'll focus on that and get it done and bring a prototype with me on Monday.
Yeah. Because even you might see it one way, but sometimes when you show it off to people, their enthusiasm could inspire you to I'm actually surprised people really responded that way. Maybe I will finish it and work on it, because I think it's exciting to see you work on that, and I want to have it. I want to see it. I want to play a set next to you and look down and see that you're using your own control. I think that's just so cool. I told my brother we should build him one, right? But I want to build one out of wood. I want to shape it and have these angles to it and stuff. And he's kind of been toying around with the idea too, so we'll see.
Yeah, if you guys are into woodworking, that's totally a thing. But for me, it's 3D printing's so fun. I'd rather just 3D print all the pieces.
So, and the old man in me is I either need to learn this soon or kind of forget about it, let it pass me by, right? Because I feel like learning 3D printing, that kind of needs to happen, no?
Yes and no. I think for most people it's a hobby, and so it's if you're not into that hobby, then
I could be
you could just buy 3D printed parts off of people that that have 3D printers, right?
Yeah.
If every time you wanted something 3D printed, you just paid me to do it, by the end of you buying parts for the rest of your life, you might not have spent enough money to justify buying a 3D printer.
See, and this is the salesman in Ricky Icebeam. He's like, no, Ryan, don't go out and do it. Just give me the money. I'll do it.
No,
I'm kidding.
If you're interested, I can show you which ones to get and what kind of filament and everything. I'd be totally happy to help. It's just I don't want to be the salesman that's selling people into a
spend $4,000. It just sits there, right?
Right, I could probably try to talk you into buying a 3D printer, but I would hate for me to tell one of my friends about how great and how fun 3D printing is, for them to spend a couple $100 and not have as much fun as I'm having.
No, I think it would be fun. That guy Alex in that video, he was like, let me show you my he's got a really clever name for basically all of his mistakes, his graveyard, and it is so much. It is crazy. I saw it and was like, oh, I'm getting anxiety seeing that he has all that just sitting there.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of background he has, but I'm a mechanical engineer, so when I do make mistakes and need to make an adjustment and fix it, I feel like the number of iterations I go through is very low. So of all the pieces that I've printed for my own custom hitbox case, I've probably spent maybe 200 grams of material, which is was 1/5, so it's $4 worth of material, so it's nothing.
Oh my god, wow. That's, oh, Jesus. I am going to have you do a dust cover for me, dust washer for my arcade stick with the Button Club logo and stuff. I'm talking it over with Alicia and what we're thinking about doing, but I want to do that next. And I would go ahead, what were you going to say?
Because if you wanted, I could essentially take the Button Club magnet that I already made, turn that into a dust washer, and just kind of cut a hole right in the center of it.
Yeah, but and maybe big enough so that the hole that the joystick has to go through doesn't lose a lot of the design.
Yeah, I guess it depends on how much space on your stick you have available for a dust cover. Because if it could be 4 or 5 inches in diameter, that allows me to blow the image up by a lot.
Yeah.
And when you drill the hole in the middle, you're right. You're not taken out half of both of the eyes and the whole nose.
So I'll have to measure what that is and then see how big or something. And then could I bother you to watch that video and then we can talk about it next week?
Sure, yeah, I'll do that.
This way, I'd love to just like hear your input about it and what you found interesting, because it's still such a relevant topic, and I think more and more people like yourself are going to be doing this before you know it. So
yeah, so I'm going to take this on as a challenge. I'm going to watch that video, and I'm going to create a prototype.
And you're going to be like, I'm going to smoke this, guys.
Well, not even just that. It's just, I know I can do it. I've just been so lazy about it, and I don't have a good excuse for why. So yeah. I'm just going to do it.
Because, like, I'll help you wire it up if you want, and everything else, too. It's so easy, so it'd be fun. Anything else you want to talk about tonight? Oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I'll say, even if we don't get to the point of wiring up, I just wanted to bring a prototype with me on Monday to Button Club just to kind of show off, like, hey, here's a early draft of what's possible, so that if someone sees it and then has an idea, maybe I can make multiple iterations, for different people, for different. Because the other thing too is, like, I'm making it for a hitbox, but there's no reason why I couldn't make it for a fight stick.
Say again? I'm sorry, I was reading a comment. One more time.
I was saying that, like, the top left panel on the hitbox design I have is for the hitbox buttons, but there's no reason why I couldn't make like a lever version of it that just has the hole for the joystick.
Yeah.
Or even a version that can accommodate both, where maybe the joystick's way to the left and then your hitbox buttons are closer to the center.
Have you seen that?
I've seen them, that they exist. I think they normally have the joystick like below the hitbox buttons. Because I know that Tomlet has one.
Yeah, so
the joystick comes out.
I'm thinking of picking up a controller from that same company, because they'll do custom layouts, and I had an idea for a layout that I wanted to do. Let me see if I can find it here.
Yeah, I can do your custom layout.
Hell yeah. Oh, here you go. Can you see my...
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. That top left one, yeah, like where your hitbox controller is essentially the main thing, and then way to the left you have your joystick.
Mm-hmm.
There's no reason why I couldn't do a print like that if someone were to want one.
And then it's out of the way.
Like if I already have everything printed and done, and someone's like, hey, can you add a joystick hole? It's like, I'm making up a number, like a 15-minute print.
Yeah.
I add a hole, I hit print, 15 minutes later it's done, glue in some magnets.
Well, Kevin says he'll help you with any type of duct taping ordeal you might need. So.
Speaking of Kevin, he had reached out to me to potentially 3D print like a model for him to paint.
Yeah.
I was explaining to him that the printer I have uses filament, and the kind of printers that print like figurines really well is a resin printer.
Mm-hmm. Which he had gotten from TC there. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was saying, at my work we have both resin printers and filament printers. But my printer at home is a filament printer. I wouldn't want to use a resin printer at home because it smells really, really bad.
Yeah, I can't even imagine. And then there's nylon too, right? That's the third one?
There's more than just those two. Those are just the most common ones. Like there's metal 3D printers, believe it or not.
Oh wow. Jeez.
But yeah, you can do nylon, you can do metal. There's also like some specific high temp plastics that you need like a special 3D printer for.
What about, have you seen I've seen people on like Etsy too. They'll do button caps.
Yeah, so I did I tell you about this the other day? Not the other day, months ago now. My button cap broke for the gamer finger.
The cap broke?
Yeah, so the cap broke, and I 3D printed a replacement, and it popped it right in. I've been using it ever since.
Oh, sick. Proving how heavy your boy hits those buttons, though. I've never seen that.
I broke the plastic into multiple pieces.
That is insane.
I pulled it out, and there was like shards of yellow plastic in it.
Oh my god. But yeah, look, like,
it was my... Yeah, I could do all that stuff.
Yeah, so like, I don't know how this is done here, the green one on the right. That's probably like a resin mold or whatever.
So that one might be filament. It looks like there's like a see-through sparkly green that you can get.
Oh, yeah. No, you're right, because it looks textured now that I see it.
Yeah, and that's the other thing too. Is they probably printed it on a textured plate, and that's probably why it has that textured top. Yeah, there's all kinds of options.
So cool. Yeah. So there you go. So even like for my brother, we were talking about his buttons, and I said, yeah, like you could. Everyone likes how the nylon buttons feel like from Nth, the grip, but they didn't really care for like as much as how the button executed. But that's a great way to change the feel of all of your button caps like that, have them 3D printed like that.
Yeah, anything you can find online, unless it's a task for a resin printer, I can do. So like these button caps, I can do those. I can do different colors, different textures. And then there's other websites too, like I think it's like Printables and Thingable or something like that. And like you can just find 3D printing files. They're called STL files.
Yep.
So if you find an STL file that you like, send it to me. I can print it.
How is the D-pad stuff going for the Victrix stuff?
So this past Monday I was going to bring a prototype with me. I 3D printed just the top part of it, the part that your thumb would touch.
Yeah.
And it felt really good and smooth, and so I was going to bring that to show off. And then Ayato was going to give me one of his inserts to take with me, and then I was going to measure the bottom features and recreate that on the bottom of the file that I already have, and then print it, and hopefully that's all it takes.
That could be cool, man, because he hates the D-pad on that thing. He's so specific about what he likes with it, so you'd be saving him big time for that.
Yeah, and even if the first iteration I come up with isn't exactly what he wanted, like if he can like explain exactly what he's looking for, then I can make those changes and kind of through trial and error kind of find the perfect solution
Of
for
course, yeah. Super cool. Very, very exciting. Anything else you want to talk about before we wrap up tonight's episode, my friend?
I think we did it.
I think we did it. There's more often than not, there's weeks we don't know what we're going to talk about, and then one or two topics hit, or in the today's instance 3, and fill up almost 2 hours of talking. It's really incredible.
Yeah, I feel like the hour to an hour and a half is like the sweet spot.
Yeah. So we will be back to Button Club this Monday as long as everyone's healthy and there's no crazy storms and whatever. So you can check us out. Omnisource Gaming, Westport, Massachusetts. Casuals at 6 and Tournament at 8. And don't forget to check out all of our other channels there that will be showing off those night streams. Safe Sets Podcast now every Wednesday starting at 8-ish. And please subscribe to the channel, like this video, check out some of our other content, and comment down below what your favorite part of tonight was and what you're thinking of my currently. We will catch you guys on the next episode of the Safe Sets Podcast, but until then, keep pressing them buttons and
stay safe.
Have a good night, everyone. Thank you so much.